Today we are comparing two of the wickedest and wildest graphics cards out there in the mid-range section. This is the Sapphire Nitro OC Edition RX 580, and we're going to be putting that head-to-head against the GTX 1060 9GB/s Edition Gaming X from MSI. So let's find out who is going to come out on top. Welcome back to Tech City. This is the Yes Man Brian coming to you guys today with the Sapphire Nitro Plus. This is the RX 580, which out of the box comes with a 1411 MHz core clock and also 8000 effective memory clock. Now I did manage to overclock this to 9000 on the memory, and also on the core clock I managed to get it to around about 1465 MHz. Now ironically enough, this is also where my RX 570 Aorus got on the core clock. So maybe it seems like the RX 570s and 580s on air are maxing out at around 1460 MHz. Though on the other side of the fence we have here the GTX 1060 from MSI. This is the Gaming X, and out of the box this has around 1980 MHz, or at least that's where it boosts to. I managed to get this to around about 2060 MHz on the core, and also on the memory I managed to get quite a sizable boost, as you can see in my overclocking tutorial when I use this exact graphics card. Though with that said, let's get on with the benchmarks and compare these two bad boys head to head to see who comes out on top. So the benchmarks really tell us what we need to know, and that is that the RX 580 and the GTX 1060 are really neck and neck in a lot of those titles. The GTX 1060 did edge out the RX 580, at least in my testing, and it also did overclock better whilst remaining cooler and using quite a substantial amount less power from the wall. I found when they were both overclocked, the GTX 1060 was juicing about 80 watts less than the Nitro overclocked. And now the Nitro OC from Sapphire is a pretty popular model. A lot of people tell me that Sapphire make the best graphics cards on the AMD lineup of cards. So we saw that the MSI did come out on top in my opinion. It did edge it out by a little bit, but also the augmented benefits are there as well. You get the power consumption benefits. You also have the card running a good 10 degrees cooler when both the fan speeds were on 80%. Though on that note of fan settings, I'll let you guys take a listen to both these cards on 60 and 80%. So what we saw with both these graphics cards were that they will both kick ass. They both have passive fans that in idle on the desktop won't spin up at all, and they also remain pretty quiet on their stock overclock settings, even though they do get hotter temperatures, at least when I was doing my benchmarks in Unigine Heaven Valley. Though you may be wondering, what about DX12 and the future of both these graphics cards? Say if you wanted to have both of them in the next 2 years, wouldn't the RX 580 perform better in the long run? Well, the RX 580 is kind of like a refresh, and it does have more aggressive clock speeds, and it does use more power over the RX 480. And with that, I found that it's still coming neck and neck with the 1060. So you've got those benefits now with you getting a 1060. However, it is reported that AMD does perform better on DX12 and also Vulkan titles. However, I am finding in DX12 titles that the 1060 is doing a really good job. I think all these reports that we heard where the AMD cards were just going to absolutely sweep the floor and the Nvidia cards in DX12 and Vulkan has been kind of overstated in ways, with the 1060 here actually performing really well. Though what about fine wine technology? Well, at least in some of the older cards that I've tested, like the 7970, they have gained substantial benefits over time, due to them still being inherently on GCN, much like the RX 470 and 480 and even 580 are still GCN-based cards. However, this time around things may be a little bit different, with AMD's next generation Vega cards reported to use a new architecture, so maybe the GCN fine wine technology may be coming to an end. Also, both these graphics cards can capture desktop and gameplay footage, with AMD having their Relive and Nvidia having the GeForce Experience. And also with the RX 580, you do get an extra 2GB of VRAM on board, so that is maybe a selling point if you tend to use this for higher resolutions going into the future and you like to micromanage your settings. Though, taking a closer look at the Gaming X, this is a dual slot cooler with 2 fans, and it also has an MSI RGB LED on the side, and the accents light up on the back of the card, and you also get a pretty sleek backplate. There's only one 8-pin PCIe connector, and also the inputs and outputs include 3 display ports, 1 HDMI 2.0 out, and a DVI link out. When we contrast that to the Sapphire Nitro, this is a graphics card that needs an 8-pin and a 6-pin connector, and also has on the rear of the card 2 display outs and also 2 HDMI outs and 1 DVI. And also on the side of the Sapphire card, you get an RGB LED that lights up, and the backplate is a very interesting design. Overall, I must say that I really dig the look of this card. It is very sleek and it is very simple, and it does stand out. Though as for pricing, both these graphics cards currently come in at $260 US, though if you are in Australia, the Gaming X 1060 is currently 35 Australian dollars cheaper than the Nitro OC. So it depends on what country you're in, but the pricing does usually differ. Though if you are in Australia, I'd definitely say pick up the 1060 over the 580, and if you are in America, I'd say you might want to flip a coin and see the benefits and negatives of both. Though when it all comes down to it, I would personally pick the 1060 over the 580. I think that lower power consumption means less heat getting dumped in your case. This card also overclocked better, and it remained quieter and cooler whilst doing so. However, my friend Steve over at Hardware Unboxed, he has a different take on things. I'll put the link to his video in the description below, where he actually recommends the 580 over the 1060. Though in this case, I may believe the Ferrari of benchmarking may have got a flat tire when he was benchmarking this time. Anyway guys, if you enjoyed this video, then be sure to hit that like button and let me know in the comment section below which one would you pick and why. Can't wait to read your comments as always, even the bad ones and the funny ones and the trolling ones and the crazy ones, and I'll catch you guys in another tech video very soon. Peace out for now. Bye.